Millennials are the most educated generation in American history. They have more college degrees, more certifications, more side hustles, more therapy, more self-awareness than any generation that came before them. And yet, they are statistically the most financially stuck, the most burned out, and the most likely to feel like something is fundamentally wrong with them. So the question isn't whether millennials are weak. The question is, why does it feel that way? Even to them. And the answer has nothing to do with avocado toast. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you might be the most important thing you've ever heard about why you can't seem to get ahead, no matter how hard you try. Let's start with what everyone is actually saying when they call millennials weak boomers, say it around the boardroom table. LinkedIn thought leaders write think pieces about it. The narrative goes something like millennials can't handle criticism. They need constant validation. They job hop instead of sticking it out. They burn out too easily. They don't respect authority. They're entitled. Now here's the psychological truth that nobody talks about. Every single one of those weaknesses is a trauma response. Not weakness, a response. There's a massive difference. And that difference is everything when it comes to your money, your career, and the life you are trying to build. See, psychology has a term for what happens when a person grows up in an environment of chronic unpredictability. When the rules keep changing, when working hard doesn't guarantee reward, when the system promises one thing and delivers another. It's called learned helplessness, and millennials didn't develop it because they are soft. They developed it because the environment they grew up in, economically, socially, digitally, was genuinely, measurably unpredictable. Let me give you the data, because this isn't just vibes. Millennials graduated into the worst financial crash since the Great Depression. Many of them took on six-figure student loan debt for degrees they were told were mandatory for success, only to enter a job market that didn't have room for them. The median millennial worker earned 20% less in their first decade of work than Gen X workers did at the same age, not because they worked less, because the economy they entered paid less. Housing prices in the U.S. have increased over 400% since 1970. Wages have gone up about 50% adjusted for inflation. Do the math. The game changed. The rulebook didn't. And then, just as they were starting to stabilize, COVID hit. Another economic reset. Another you're-on-your-own moment from every institution they were told to trust. Now, here's where the psychology gets really interesting. When humans experience repeated situations where their effort doesn't match, their outcome, where working harder, doing everything right, still leads to the same result, the brain does something very specific. It stops trying, not because it's lazy, because it's efficient. The brain is a prediction machine. And when the prediction is effort won't matter, the most logical response, biologically, is to conserve energy. This is what you've been calling your motivation problem. It's not motivation, it's a neurologically learned pattern built from real experiences. Now let's bring this directly into your wallet, because this is a personal finance channel and I want you to see exactly how this psychological pattern is costing you money. You check your bank account obsessively. You refresh it multiple times a day. You run calculations in your head constantly. You know you're balanced to the dollar. This feels like financial responsibility. But for many millennials, it's actually anxiety management. It's the subconscious, trying to create a feeling of control in a world where financial stability felt completely out of reach. And here's the cost. Hypervigilance keeps you in a scarcity mindset. When you're constantly watching for threats, you can't think expansively. You can't take calculated risks. You can't invest, financially or emotionally, in your future. The reason millennials spend money on experiences, and yes, that fancy coffee, isn't entitlement. It's nervous system regulation. When you've lived in chronic stress, your body craves dopamine hits, quick, tangible rewards, because the long-term stuff, the retirement, account, the house, the wealth your parents said was possible, that reward pathway feels broken, so the brain goes for what's certain. The $7 latte is a guaranteed win. The 401k feels like a slot machine. This one is the most painful and the most misunderstood. Many millennials are stuck just below a financial threshold that would actually change their lives. And every time they get close, something happens: a job loss, a bad investment, an emergency, a relationship that drains them. From the outside, it looks like bad luck. From a psychological standpoint, it's the subconscious mind enforcing a money ceiling, a deeply held belief about what someone like you is allowed to have. If you grew up watching your parents stress about money, argue about money, suffer because of money, your subconscious associated wealth with conflict, guilt, or being different from the people you love, so it protects you by keeping you small. That's not weakness. That's a survival system that got stuck. There's one more layer here that no other generation has had to deal with, and it's invisible, relentless, and it's running in the background of every financial decision you make. Social media. Millennials are the first generation to grow up with a real-time highlight reel of everyone else's success. And before you say, yeah, we know social media is bad, let me tell you what's actually happening in your brain when you scroll. Every time you see someone your age buying a house, announcing a promotion, or posting a vacation that's clearly out of your current budget, your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, fires, not because you're jealous, but because social comparison is an evolutionary survival tool. Where you see key you rank in your social group has always mattered for survival. The brain doesn't know the difference between a tribal status threat and an Instagram post. So every scroll is a microdose of cortisol. Every comparison is a tiny signal that you're behind, that you're less than, that something is wrong with you. Multiply that by 3 hours a day, 365 days a year for the last decade, and you get a generation that feels fundamentally inadequate at a biological level. And what do people do when they feel inadequate? They either freeze or they spend to prove they're okay. Neither one builds wealth. Okay, I need to stop here and say something directly to you. If any of this is resonating, if you've been nodding along and feeling a mix of relief and discomfort, that feeling is important data. Because here's the reframe that changes everything. You are not broken, you are responding. The patterns we've talked about, the hypervigilance, the impulsive spending, the income ceiling, the paralysis, these are not character flaws, they are programs. And programs can be rewritten, but, and this is crucial, you cannot rewrite a program you don't know you're running. Most millennial financial advice sounds like this: budget better, invest early, stop spending on things you don't need. That advice is like telling someone with a broken leg to run faster. The leg is broken. You have to look at the leg first. Your leg is the subconscious story you're running about money, worth, safety, and what you're allowed to have. Until you examine that story, no amount of budgeting apps or index funds will get you where you want to go, because the problem was never the strategy. It was never the information. You already know what you should do. The question is, what's stopping you from doing it? So let me give you 3 places to start, not a 30-step financial plan. 3 psychological shifts that create the foundation for everything else. Number 1, name the pattern before you try to fix the behavior. The next time you catch yourself avoiding your bank account, panic spending, or talking yourself out of an opportunity, pause. Don't judge it, just name it. I'm avoiding this because uncertainty feels dangerous to me. I'm spending this because I need to feel like I have something good. Naming. It interrupts the automatic loop. It creates the tiny gap between stimulus and response where change becomes possible. Number 2, separate your identity from your net worth. Most millennials have unconsciously equated financial struggle with personal failure, which means every time they look at their balance, they're not just seeing a number, they're seeing a verdict on their worth. As a human being, that's an unbearable amount of psychological weight to put on a number. Your net worth is a current measurement of a dynamic system. It is not a report card on your value. Start treating it like a weather reading, useful data, not a life sentence. Yes, I did. Number 3, create one safe-to-try financial experiment. The learned helplessness pattern breaks when you start getting evidence that your actions do produce results. So don't overhaul your entire financial life. Pick one small thing, automate $25 a week into savings. Say no to one expense that doesn't align with what you actually want. Negotiate one bill, do it, see the result, let your nervous system experience. I did a thing, the thing worked. I am not powerless. That's not a financial tip. That's neurological reprogramming. And it's where real change starts. So, are millennials a generation of weakness? No. They're a generation that was handed a broken economic ladder, told to climb anyway, given a front row seat to everyone else's highlight reel, and then blamed for not making it to the top. And somewhere in the middle of all that, they started to believe the story. The work, the real work, is unbelieving it. Not through toxic positivity, not through hustle culture, not through pretending the structural problems don't exist, but through the slow, unglamorous, deeply important process of understanding your own mind. Because when you understand why you do what you do with money, why you freeze, why you spend, why you self-sabotage, you stop fighting yourself. And that's when things actually start to change. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop in the comments, what's the one pattern you recognized in yourself today? I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next one.